algorithm that we have seen in the last CG lecture was the ellipse generation algorithm. So in short, it is a midpoint ellipse generation algorithm, and we have seen one example with that particular algorithm, and based on that we have seen one example. Okay, so now the thing is, what you have to do is you have to take this thing, download the assigned tutorial 2 from your Moodle, and I have mailed you also. Try to solve this thing starting from the very first thing that is given in the tutorial is the DDA algorithm. Okay, so it goes like that. Yes, the very first thing, the very first question that is given to you is very simple, so you can solve it so that you get an idea, okay, how this thing works, how we can get the excels. Okay, and then you start with that thing and go likewise and try to solve the other things as well. Okay, so based on the slope, each and everything is given in detail in the PPT. So what you can do is, once you calculate the slope, you'll be getting the idea in which direction you have to go. So most probably in second or third practical, you'd be getting that thing, your slope would be getting something different than the actual scenario. So based on that, you have to start and you have to follow the algorithm. Okay, and yeah, that is what you have to do. So that was about the ellipse generation, and the last two questions in tutorial 2, that is based on the ellipse generation algorithm. Okay, midpoint ellipse generation. Yeah, so that is what you have to do, and try to calculate the intermediate points, so you'll be getting idea for the test also and for your examination purpose also. So we won't be doing this thing for we will be doing it in this way only, so you have to follow the tutorial pattern. Okay, so once you finish that thing, I'll be giving you solution of tutorial 1 and tutorial 2. I'll be posting it on your Moodle only. Okay, so yeah, now what we are actually going to see today is one more thing that is required to know, that is inside and outside test, or you can say inside outside test. So basically what it says is, you need to know whether a point is inside the polygon, or suppose a specific portion or one area is, if you want to know whether it is inside that polygon area, if it is inside that shape or not. So for that we have few things over here that we will see, and we'll go ahead with this thing, that is inside outside test. Okay, fine. So now we have this thing, that is inside outside test. So now what it says is, area filling and other graphic option often required to find if a particular point is inside or outside the polygon. Okay, so we need to know about the point, whether it is inside or outside. So we'll be dealing with few things, okay, by which we can say that, okay, this thing is inside or it is outside. Okay, let me just check everything is going fine. Yeah, fine. So we are dealing with one point and we want to know whether it is inside or outside of the polygon area. Okay, and similarly we can use it for so many things if we know this thing. So for finding which region is inside or outside, most graphic package use either two things. Okay, well, the first thing is the odd even rule, another thing is non-zero winding number rule. So pay attention over here, it is very simple, we just need to go through it. Okay, so odd even rule and the non-zero winding rule. Okay, so now it is also known as odd parity as well as even odd rule. Okay, so what it says is, by conceptually drawing a line from any position P to a distant point outside the coordinate extent of the object. So you'd be having something like this. This is your boundary screen. As you already know, you are working in a limited area, and many of you are getting the same problem if you are giving some unknown coordinates or something that is not acceptable by the computer monitor or the screen. So that was giving you not at all giving you some output. So that is one boundary screen, and we have one area. Okay, you can consider this as a polygon or on an object. Okay, and we need to know whether this point P is inside or outside of that particular area. Okay, so what it says we need to do is, we need to draw a line from any position P, that is this, to a distant point outside the coordinate extent of the object. So something like this, you just have to go from that point to the till the end of the boundary, or till the boundary of the screen. So once you go there, what it says is, now next what you have to do is then counting the number of edges crossing by this line. Okay, that is, whenever you draw a line from that particular point to the till the end of the screen, what it says is, in between if you are getting number of edges, okay, so what you have to do is, you just have to keep a count of this particular thing, and that is what it say. So right now what it says is, we have such count as 1 because it is intersecting one edge, or you can say one thing in between. So our count is 1. If it is 2, then you have to write 2 over there. Okay, so simply you have to consider this number of intersecting things. Okay, so what if it is the case? So if edge count is odd, then p is an interior point, as it is in our case. Okay, the value is 1, and if it is odd, then p is an interior point. Otherwise what? Otherwise, if the value is not, like if the value is even, it is not odd, then it is an exterior point. So simple thing, simple fundamental you have to keep in mind for this odd even rule. Okay, now we have one more point over here, that is q. Simply what we'll be doing is we'll just draw a line from that position to a distance point outside the coordinate extent of an object. Okay, so now over here, as you can see in this scenario, now it is getting intersected at two such things. Okay, so but obviously if there are two such scenario and two such thing is happening with this line, so what you have to do is you have to give it a count. Okay, so in our case, two things are getting intersected, or like it is getting crossed by that particular line. So now we have two count over here. So this case says that okay, the point q, or you can say point, like simply the q is outside of the area. Okay, outside of the polygon. So that is what it said. It is very simple. You just need to keep a track of the number of edges it is going through, it is passing through, and if you have this count, then you can easily say that okay, this thing is inside or outside. But obviously one thing that will come in your mind is that it is not at all efficient if we are dealing with the complex polygon or complex objects. But obviously, because what happen is whenever you are working with like something very complex, something very different object, then it won't be giving you that much good result. So in that case, we'll be using something else. Okay, this is one thing that we have, and one more point, that is r. Okay, so you can consider this thing also, as we don't have anything that is coming or that is being like crossed by that particular line, so we'll be saying that okay, this is also an exterior point. So that is what you have to keep in mind while like working with this odd even rule, whether we need to check whether the point is interior point or an exterior point. Okay, so now this is the very first thing that we have seen. So now what it says, to obtain the actual accurate edge count, we have to make sure that selected line does not pass from any vertices, because what happens is if you go outside that particular thing, then it would be giving you wrong answer. So you need to like check where is the end point of that particular object or of the screen. So if you know this thing, this boundary is known to you, then only it would be giving you correct thing. Okay, correct result. Another thing that we have is non-zero winding rule. Okay, non-zero winding number rule. This method counts the number of times the polygon edges wind around a particular point in the clockwise direction. Okay, so now over here one concept, we will see this thing with the same example, but now a little bit changes over here that you have to keep in your mind. That is based on the winding. Okay, so now what it says, we apply this rule by initializing winding number with 0. So what you gotta do is you have to like initialize the counter, or you can say winding number with 0. Okay, based on the 0, what we will do is we'll try to check whether this like our condition is getting satisfied or not. So what this algorithm say, or you can say what this like topic says. Now we have the same scenario over here. What you have to do is you have to go in a clockwise direction. Like you just need to draw the boundary in the clockwise direction, like starting from left to right. Similarly, left to right will be like over here, and then it will go from right to left over here, like similar fashion will be followed over here. Okay, so once you get this kind of information with you, once you have this thing information, once you have like added this information to your boundary, what it says is now you have to go with it. Okay, so now again what you have to do is you have to consider one point, as we have seen in our earlier example, that is one point is p, and you gotta draw one line starting from that point to the distant point. Okay, that is like beyond this boundary of the polygon and up to the boundary screen. Okay, so now once it go there, what it says is what you gotta check is the line we choose must not pass through the vertices, but obviously if it is like passing through that particular thing, then you are not at all going to get the accurate result. Now then we move along the line, we find number of intersecting edges. Again the same fundamental is needed to be applied over here. You got to deal with this thing, that is intersecting edges. You just have to count this thing, but one thing that will change over here is if edge crosses our line from right to left, we add 1 to the winding number. Okay, so based on the direction the line is going, the line is like there, you have to add 1 to the winding number. So what it says in our case, if the edge from which the line is going through, if it is from right to left, then we have to add to this winding number. Winding number is nothing but just now we have initialized it with 0. Okay, it is just a counter. So now, but obviously from our case or in our scenario, what it says is from right to left. But in over here we have one line and that is left to right. So what it says is if this is the case, otherwise subtract -1 from the winding number. So this case is getting satisfied. That is the second case that is given over here. This case is getting satisfied in our this condition. So what it says is you just have to add -1. That is you just have to subtract 1 from the given thing, whatever thing you have in the counter. Okay. So in our case we have 0 value, that is the initialized thing. So now what we'll do is we'll add this thing. Okay, that is -1 will be our updated value, and if the final value of the winding number is non-zero, then the point is interior, otherwise the point is exterior. So you have to keep this thing in mind. So but obviously our value is not 0, then the point is interior. So our case says that okay, it is non-zero, then it is the interior point. So it is very simple thing that you have to just follow, and that is what it say. And if you are getting like your counter is getting back to 0, then what you have to do is you have to just simply like make this decision that okay, the point is outside. So over here we have one more case, as you have seen in our example, that is for Q. Okay, it is passing through two lines, and similarly we have two different cases over here. First thing says that if your like line is from left to right, then what you have to do is you subtract 1, and if it is from like right to left, as it is shown over here, so we need to add one number to this winding number. So our case says that our like our counter would be like equal to 0 if this thing is considered, because we have -1 at one stage and we have +1 at another stage. So basically we'll be getting 0 value. 0 is the case, then what it says, if it is non-zero, then it is interior, else it is exterior. But obviously in our case it is exterior. Similar thing goes for this R point. Okay, we have one more thing over here, that is R, and it is not at all passing through any of the given line. So what it says that if this is not the case, then you just have to simply assign one counter as 0, and if 0 is the case, then it is the exterior point. Okay, that is what you have to keep in mind, like while working with this thing, while like to check this thing if it is inside or outside. Okay, so a very simple thing is given over here, that is for basic checking thing, or if you are working at some stage and you need to know whether the thing is inside or outside, so you can simply apply it. Now what it says is for standard polygon comparison between odd even rule and non-zero winding rule. Okay, so standard polygons and simple object, both rule give same result, but for more complicated shape, as I told you earlier, if you have curved surfaces, or if you have some shape something like this, then it will be very difficult for you to get the particular accurate result. Okay, so now we have two shapes over here. First thing is for first case is for the odd even rule, another thing is for the non-zero winding rule. Okay, so now we have such portions over here in our example where we need to make the decision, and you, as you can see over here, for this particular region we'll be having different result for different algorithm, as we have seen. Okay, so now what it says is we will first of all consider this thing. Okay, we have, suppose we have one point over here and we are going out of that point, and what it says is if it is like getting from that line, or one like your like point of your line that is coming out of the point is like crossing one line, or it is having one intersection edge, then what it says is based on our odd even rule, based on the odd if the number is odd, then we need to make decision that okay, this particular point, suppose this is the point, then it is interior point, and if it is getting equal to even number, then that point would be the exterior point. So similar scenario is given over here. In both the cases this would be the proper answer, because over here also we are getting one thing, our point is over here and it is passing through this particular line, and the line is from left to right. So if the left to right is the case, then what it says is you have to subtract 1, and in our case it will say that okay, this is the interior point. Now check this scenario over here. Okay, so now we have one thing given over here, and what it says is our point, our line from that particular point is going outside of that region, and it is going up to the and like boundary point. Okay, now in between it is like getting intersected at two particular things. Okay, two edges are like getting intersected. So now what it says, based on our like odd even rule, we have two value now with us. So what it would say that okay, this is the exterior point, but this is not correct in like particular this case. Okay, because you can clearly see this thing, that this thing is inside Okay, if a point lies in this particular region, then you can easily say that okay, this is the inside region. You cannot say this thing as an like exterior part, but based on the algorithm it is giving you incorrect result. So that is what you have to keep in mind. If you are working with like this kind of thing, then it would be giving you wrong answers. Okay, similar case is given over here. Again, it is passing through two such edges, and we have to value 2, so it would be giving you out. Okay, value as out based on our topic. Okay, similar thing is applied over here. Sometimes it can give you correct answer, sometimes it would be giving you the incorrect answer. So that is what you have to keep in mind while working with these algorithms. Okay, and yeah, over here we have one more thing. See, consider this particular case that is given in both the examples. Okay, one example is giving that okay, this point is exterior point, another thing is saying that okay, this point is interior point. Based on the direction it is making this decision. So over here we have one scenario where a point is over here, and if it passes like this. Okay, so now over here, if it's what it says is if your like line is from left to right, what it say that okay, you gotta like subtract 1. Okay, that is -1 as per our rule. Okay, if it is left from left to right, then you have to subtract 1, and if it is from right to left, then we have to add 1. So over here this thing is getting satisfied. We'll add -1 value over here. Similar thing is over here. As you can see, the f line, f to g line, fg line is there, and it is also same. Okay, the direction is same, that is it is passing from left to right. So over here again one value would be added, or you can say one value would be given to the counter. So in our case the value is -1, so you just have to add both of this thing, and at the end you'll be getting -2, so that is not equal to 0, and in this case it would be giving you proper answer because it is not getting equal to 0. Then what it says is the point is interior. So you can like clearly see the difference, okay, between both of this like algorithm. So that is what you have to keep in mind while working with this algorithm, that it can give you inaccurate results as we have seen just now. Okay, one thing is based on the odd even value, another thing is based on the direction of the line. Okay, now you'll say that okay, how we can give the direction. So it is based on the object that you are working, or predefined lines could be given to you. Okay, yeah, so one thing is this. So you need to know whenever you work with computer graphics subject and graphic kind of things, so these things are like very simple. So that's why we have to like learn this thing. Okay, so now we have one more thing, that is scan line field of curved boundary areas. Okay, but obviously if you are working with this for proper lines and all, then you'd be getting some appropriate results out of that. But what if you are working with the curved boundary? Okay, so what it says is scan line field of region with curved boundary is more time consuming as intersection calculation now involves non-linear boundaries. Okay, you're not dealing with this linear thing, so that would require some more amount of calculation or more thing needed for your purpose. Now what it says for simple curves such as ellipse or circle, scan line fill process is straightforward process. Okay, as we did in our case. Okay, what we did is like simply we have gone in one octant, you can say, or in one quadrant in that particular two region we have worked with, and then we try to like calculate the endpoints, or you can say particular pixel, so that we would be able to know that okay, this is the boundary. And once we get this information, then you'd be easily getting the information. Okay, if this is the boundary at one like point or at one quadrant or in one octant, and you will be able to say okay, now using the symmetric property you'll be able to get the opposite side also. Now if you have that information, okay, if you have that information of that one octant and you are replicating the thing in the another octant, then you would be saying that okay, this is my complete region between the two octants, or two like region, two quadrants. So in between what you can do is you can simply fill some color so that you'd be able to know that okay, now this is our complete boundary. So that is what you have to do. We calculate two scan line intersection on opposite side of the curve, and then this is same as generating pixel position as I have given you right now along the curved boundary using standard equation of curve. So what you can do is you just try to find the points, and once you get a complete boundary out of it, you just need to make a decision. Okay, in between we have this much region, so we need to fill it with some color. Okay, so that is what it see. Then we fill the color between two boundary intersections. Okay, so in between it will like fill that particular thing with the some color. So that is what it says, that is scan line fill of curved boundary areas. Okay, and then you'll be using the symmetric property to get the other information. So now we have one more important thing over here, that is introduction to the boundary fill algorithm. Whenever we work with the area fill primitives or the like feeling, or you would say that okay, we are working with an object or a scenario where we want to fill that particular region with red color. So what you have that, what would you be having that thing in your hand whenever we are working with any scenario. So for that you cannot be using a simple thing that is available to you or the readily available function, but instead of that what you gotta do is you have to use this thing, that is boundary fill and flood fill algorithm. Okay, so two things that we have is boundary fill and flood fill algorithm. Based on that, once we get that information, you'd be able to know that okay, this is the region that I need to cover, and we can fill that thing with some particular color. So what it says, okay, now pay attention over here. Starting with some seed, any point inside the polygon. Okay, now you'd be having one shape, but obviously whenever we are working, like we are talking about the scenario and shapes and objects, so what it says, then starting with some seed, okay, any particular pixel you choose, we examine the neighboring pixel to check whether the boundary pixel is reached. Okay, so we'll go inside the particular object or particular shape, and we'll choose one random seed, and out of that we'll check the boundary pixels. Okay, boundary pixels in sort of what I can say is you have to check the color of the boundary. Suppose you're like suppose your polygon boundary is of black color or it is of red color, so you what you gotta check is you have to check that thing. Suppose your like pixel, and if it is checking for the neighbor pixel, and if your neighbor pixel is having black color or red color, then it would be saying that okay, I have reached the boundary, so we need to stop here and we have to look further whether we are like getting the boundary region or not, other boundary region or not. So that is how it will go, and we will see one example also that how it works. Okay, so if this thing is not reached, then pixels are highlighted and the process is continued until the boundary pixels are reached. As I told you, if it gets this information, okay, if black is the color, then it will know that okay, now we have reached the boundary. If it is not the case, then it will highlight the portion that is to be painted. Okay, so now selection of this neighbor pixel can go either in two directions, that is it can add up the 4 connected region or 8 connected strategy. Okay, 4 connected strategy. What it says, okay, we have one pixel and it will try to check neighboring pixel in this 4 direction, that is left, right, top, bottom. Okay, as it is given over here, and then we have this 8 connected region. Okay, so it will also check diagonally in this case as compared to the previous one, but obviously if you are going in only 2 direction, or you can say 4 direction, so you won't be like searching for the neighboring pixel that appears over here, that is diagonal position, so it won't be searching that efficiently. Okay, so you need something that can go in all the directions, so for that people generally use this 8 connected region. Okay, so now in some cases an 8 connected algorithm is more accurate than 4 connected algorithm, but obviously sometimes 4 connected produces the partial result. Okay, why it produces the partial result, or why it won't give you that much good result, is because of this region. Okay, so we have one thing over here, one polygon is given to us, and over here what it says is we have selected this as a seed, or you can say a random pixel where we need to start from. Okay, once it will start from here, it will look for the neighbor pixel as we have chosen, or we have taken this thing into consideration, that is 4 connected algorithm. So it will go in top, like left, right, top, bottom manner only, and it will check whether we are at the boundary point or not. Okay, so once it will go here, it will try to check in the, once it will go in the boundary, it will check okay, we have one black color, so this is our boundary, we need to check the other things as well based on the 4 connected region. So it will go left, right, okay, there is nothing we filled, we have white color or we have some other thing. So yeah, this is our inside portion, so it will go and it will choose this thing, okay, we need to fill it with some color, and it will try filling it with some particular color that a developer or the user is giving. Okay, similarly it will go over here, and likewise it will go in each and every position of that particular polygon. Okay, now what is the problem? So what it says is over here it will try to fill each and everything. Okay, यहाँ पे अगर suppose आएगा तो it will look forward to for the other information. Okay, these are the things that is needed to fill. It will fill each and everything of this. Now once it will come over here, you consider this example. Okay, once it reaches over here, that is your pixel position is this, all it will do is it will again apply the same concept, that is 4 connected algorithm, and it will try to check the information of the left, right, and top, bottom pixel. So based on that, it will make a decision that okay, this is our boundary. So okay, this is our boundary, that is fine, but this is the pixels that are needed to be painted. So it will paint this particular thing at this point. Okay, but now it will like completely finish or paint this thing. Okay, or it will fill all of these pixels. But what about this particular thing? Suppose if you have this kind of like polygon with you, so it will not go further and it will stop over here and it will only partially fill that polygon. So that's what you have to keep in mind whenever we have such different things. Then this four connected algorithm is not that much efficient. Okay, so that's why we add up this thing, that is to go diagonally. So if this was the case that we have pixel over here, so it will go over here, it will try to check, okay, diagonally is nothing is painted over here, so it will go over here and then it will fill it again, it will go in that particular manner. So that's why we require 8 connected algorithms. I hope this thing is like understandable and you're getting this whole concept. Okay, so अभी ये seed value कैसे देनी है, तो it is based on the algorithm or simple procedure that you have to follow. Okay, so you can do this thing in your graphics library. Okay, we have pixel information with us, we have two colors, that is foreground color and background color. Okay, so based on that information, what we'll be doing is, okay, if you have encountered the boundary or the background color, then it will be saying, okay, this is the information that we have. And if what if we don't have this information, that what it will say that okay, if this thing is not the boundary region, then we have to fill it. Fill करने के लिए भी आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, you have to put pixel. Okay, so what you are doing is you are like painting that pixel with a color that you are giving for your purpose. Okay, now what we say is we are like adapting this thing, that is the four connected region. So now likewise, as I told you that you have to go in top down and left right manner, so it will update the pixel information as you can do as it is shown over here. You have to go in that manner. Suppose it's for left pixel, then it will try to fill this thing with that color. Okay, that pixel. Similarly, top, if top is the scenario, if like left is the scenario, bottom is the scenario, so it will go in that four connected region and it will try to fill all of this thing with a particular color, whatever color you are giving. Okay, in this foreground color. So similar thing is to be applied while like working with the graphic library. You just need to check this condition, whether this condition is getting satisfied or not. As I told you, it will look for the boundary, for the particular color in the boundary, and if this is the case, then it will note, okay, I don't have to go in that direction, I am at the boundary and I have to like paint the remaining pixels. Okay, so that is what it says whenever like we are working with the boundary fill algorithm. Now we have one more thing, that is flood fill algorithm. Okay, so now instead of this boundary fill algorithm, what we can do is, if you don't want to go in this particular manner or if you want to save your time, okay, and what if the case some that is given over here, sometime it is required to fill in an area that is not defined with a single boundary. So you'd be getting a shape where you will be having multiple boundary colors. So in that case, your algorithm is but obviously going to get confused. So वो क्या करेगा, जो अलग color का है उसको भी paint कर देगा. So now to avoid this thing, you have to adapt this thing, that is the flood fill algorithm. Okay, so what it says is, in such cases we can fill areas by replacing a specified interior color instead of searching for boundary color. One huge difference over here as compared to the previous one is you don't have to go for the boundaries, but instead of that you just like keep a pointer of the previous color that is already there in that region, and once you get that particular color, what you have to do is you just have to fill it with your new color. Okay, yeah, so this approach is called flood fill algorithm. So like boundary fill algorithm, here we start with some seed and examine the neighbor pixel. Okay, so instead of that, instead of checking the boundary, what it says here, the pixels are checked for a specified interior color instead of boundary color, and they are replaced by a new color. So suppose if I give you one example, you have one polygon and that is filled with light gray color or a white color. Okay, so you'd be giving in your algorithm that okay, if my background color is white or my background color is red, then I want my algorithm to fill that particular area with new color. Suppose your color is green. Okay, so it will look for the red color. Okay, all in all, and then once it gets this information, okay, these are the regions that has been covered with red color, and it will just replace that color, old color, with your new color, that is green. So that is what it says in flood fill algorithm. Okay, so use either a four connected, or because you are working with pixels, so it cannot go random, so you have to use any of the any of this approach, and we can step through pixel position until all the interior points have been filled. So, but obviously you can go in this manner. Okay, so we have now two things instead of the background color or instead of the boundary color. What you gotta do is you have to check for the old color. See, we are now changing our perception. Okay, so instead of going with the boundary, we are trying to get the old color. Okay, once you get the old color, then what it says is you have to completely paint that pixel with the new color. Okay, whatever color you want to give. So your old color will be replaced with the new color over here. Okay, these are the pixel information. एक बार आप लोग try करोगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि ये कौन से direction में जा रहा है. So you have to try it in the graphic library in the C program, and you can simply use this thing for filling that area. Okay, once we will like see all this thing, that is ellipse generation is there, and like this lesson and line generating algorithm. So once we are done with this thing, what we'll do is we'll go with the field area primitives, and we'll try to fill the objects in the lab as well, so that you get an idea about the same. Okay, so now we have one more thing in CG, is the character generation. Okay, so now we'll be dealing with very simple things that we can like encounter. See, like don't consider this thing like कि भाई ये तो अभी बहुत simple है sir अभी. It's fine if you know it, then it is very good. You just need to pay attention over here, and you'll be able to get something like some idea about this thing, that how this thing works in the computer graphics subject, or it's simply computer. Okay, so what it says is we can display letters and numbers in variety of. Hope you are getting my voice. कुछ reaction नहीं आ रहा है तो everything fine. क्या हुआ? Okay, fine. So just pay attention over here. And अभी तक देखो जितना देखा है ना, if you don't get anything, then you can ask me, or like you can mail me as you people are doing. So वो आप कर सकते हो, not a problem. And we'll try to solve that thing. Yeah. Okay. So character generation. So now what it says, what obviously based on the name, we are going to generate a character. Okay, we can display letters and numbers in variety of size and style. Okay, how we can do this thing in graphics. Okay, the overall design style for the set of character is called typeface. In the earlier days, what they were saying it like a typeface, that is a basic structure in which you want to display your character. Okay, so now basically we have so many things, so many fonts available with us in the modern day computer application. So these are the basic things that you would be having with you, that is Helvetica, Arial, and Times New Roman, and so many things that you have. But originally this term font referred to as a set of cast metal character, because this was the scenario in that days, that if you want a particular font that is needed to be like molded, okay, or you need to like create it with some metal, so that it could be like it could leave that impression on the paper, so that you get that particular font. So originally the term font referred to the set of cast metal character formed in a particular size and format. Okay, so that was also fixed. You cannot change the metal size as per your need. So that is the case. Example, this is the case that you have 10-point Courier italic and one bold font is there. So the things that you want to display were like designed in that manner only. You were not able to change it dynamically. Okay, so now the term font and typeface are often used interchangeably, but obviously you'll be using the term that is font, since printing is no longer done with cast metal form. So now what we have is method of character generation in computer graphics. So now we have four such things. So you can write it down. First thing is a bitmap font. Second is outline font. Another thing is stroke method, and one more thing that we have is the starburst method. So this thing can be asked in 1 or 2 mark in the examination. Okay, so you just have to give the description of the public thing. Okay, and the last thing is starburst method. Okay, so now the very first thing that we have is the bitmap font. Okay, so now what it says is a simple method for representing the character shape in a particular font is to use the rectangular grid pattern. So likewise, you have one grid pattern in which you'll be storing numeric values ranging from 0 to 1, but obviously you won't be going in the floating point like scenario or in that area, because we are not working with the neural network and like image recognition kind of thing. Okay, so we have one simple thing over here, that is the values that ranges from 0 to 1. So what it says is, in frame buffers, these are the frame buffers, the bit one designate which pixel are to be displayed on the monitor. So what obviously you can say that thing, if you encounter one value, so that is to be displayed, and if you have 0, then it is not to be illuminated. So bit map font are the simplest to define and display शायद अपने school में भी पढ़ा होगा. Okay, but it requires more space, but obviously you need to have this bit information with you so that you can like store it in your grid or in your frame buffer. Now for such single or individual character, you need to have this many information, okay, as it is over here. So obviously it is not efficient. Okay, so it's possible to generate different size and other variation from one set, but this usually do not produce the good result. Okay, you would be getting jagged appearance at the end. So what they do is they try to like save this character information or the alphabets in that particular frame buffer in advance. Okay, so that whenever you need this thing, they'll just retrieve it. The bit information is retrieved. Okay, so now we have one more thing over here, that is the outline font. So in this method, what it says, character is generated using curved section and straight line has combined assembly. But obviously, as compared to the previous one, now you'd be having a better shape as compared to the like bitmap font. Okay, so now if this is the case, then you'd be able to produce a very good result. So to display the character, what we need is we just need to fill the inner region of that shape with some color. Okay, as it is given over here, this method requires less storage since each variation does not need a distinct font case. Okay, so you do not have to store it with the beat patterns. Okay, and you just have this information, so you can mold it with your for your own purpose. Okay, based on the region that you are painting. So we can produce bold face, italic, or different size by manipulating the curve definition for the character outline. You just have one thing with you, suppose it is for A or B, and you just need to modify your algorithm for your purpose. Okay, fine. So what it says is this method requires less storage since each variation do not require a distinct font case. As I told you, see, now this was the case in the previous example. Okay, over here we have this kind of information for A, as you can see. Now, if you consider English language, then we need this kind of information for each and every character or alphabet. So now we need 26 such information to be stored in our frame buffer. But now, if this is the case, what it says is we just need to store one information and we can modify our algorithm to go in that particular area. Suppose this is the case. Okay, for B, now it will go something like this. Okay, for A, and remove remaining thing would be removed from that cache. Okay, so you just have to like deal with one alphabet, and remaining thing could be like developed by the algorithm itself. Okay, if you define this thing, suppose it is for C, so now you just have to like paint that particular region in this direction only. So now you need to modify algorithm instead of storing it in different distinct font cache. Okay, as we have seen in the previous one. So that's why what it says is it requires less storage, because you don't need that thing. Yeah, but the more kind of like programming thing is required in this outline font case. Okay, so similar things can be defined, can be derived with the help of the code definition. So that is the thing. Okay, this will take more time to process the outline font because they must be scan converted into the frame buffer. Okay, now you if you have the shape, then like again it is going to take more time, because you cannot simply go in the C as I have drawn over here or in the B direction, like as we can see, because scanline is like something that will go from like line by line, and it has to store all of this thing. Okay, for a particular row or for a particular line, if it is getting that pixel, then it is time consuming. Okay, so that is what it say. So that is one thing that is given over here, and one more thing we have is the stroke method. Okay, so now it uses small line segment to generate a character, as we did in the DDA algorithm. Now we have a DDA algorithm or a line generating algorithm. What we gotta do is we just need to like fit that coordinate value or pixel value to that algorithm, and it will generate some line. And based on the lines, what we can do is we can create anything that is given on the screen. Okay, a small series of line segments are drawn like a stroke of a pen to form a character, but it is not drawn with a stroke of a pen. Instead of that, what you are using is at each and every endpoint or at each and every ending pixels, you are using the line generation algorithm. Okay, so that can be done. If I say you have to draw a triangle, so that is the same thing that you are doing. Okay, but over here it is necessary to decide which line segment are needed for each characters and then draw that line to display characters. But obviously you need to have this thing beforehand so that you can draw this thing effectively. Okay, it supports scaling by changing line length of, yeah, this is one very good thing that is given over here as compared to the previous thing that was storing the bit information. In that you are not able to change the, like you are not able to scale that thing, okay, based on your own requirement. But over here you can do this thing because we are dealing with the line generation algorithm. Okay, so now we have one more thing, that is the starburst method. So what it says is, in this method you have to keep one thing in mind, that is it uses a fixed pattern of line, that is 24 line segments, okay, to generate a character. So as you can see, it is simply given over here, and in this case this thing is fixed by the manufacturer, that is you have to follow. Okay, so once you have this thing with your programming device or with your device, then it will just simply follow it. Okay, so now, but obviously now you'd be getting idea that okay, how we can illuminate that object or this or that character. So we highlight those lines which are necessary to draw a particular character. But obviously if you want to draw A or V or something like that, then you need to eliminate that particular lines only. Suppose the line that are required for V or A is 2 1 3 4 5 6, then we'll be eliminating this thing, and remaining thing could be set to 0 value. Okay, so now what it says is, pattern for particular character is stored in the form of 24-bit code. Okay, how it will store, that we will see, in which 8-bit represents corresponding line having that number. Okay, good, not a problem. So we put we'll give one value to that particular bit. For highlighted line we'll be having one value, and for the other line we'll be having 0 value. Okay, eliminate karna hai to 1, else 0. So now we have one example given to us, that is code for letter V. So this thing will be stored in your device. Okay, so we have one thing over here, that is for V we have predefined pattern to eliminate this character. So over here we have 24 such bits, and starting from 1 2 we have given particular value to that line. So first thing is 1, so we have written 1 over here. Again for 2 we have 1 over here. Similarly 3 4 is not getting eliminated, so we have given 0 0 value over here. Okay, then we have one more thing, that is 5 6 7. So 3 things are getting eliminated, so you have to go in this manner only, don't consider binary thing. Okay, so we have one more thing, that is 5 6 7. Okay, so we'll be giving one value over here, and we have to go in a linear fashion only. So we have 8 9 10 and 11. Okay, so we'll be giving it 0 value because it is not, we don't want it to be like to appear. Okay, and then we have 12, so we'll be giving it one value. Similar thing is followed over here to display a particular character. Okay, this technique is again not used nowadays because it requires more memory to store 24-bit for 24-bit code for single character. Okay, so this is not the recommended one. It requires conversion from code to character. Again, we need some sort of algorithm to convert all of this into that character. Okay, so yeah, one more disadvantage is this thing, that is it doesn't provide code save. But obviously if we are working with the lines, then we are not able to get that code kind of thing. Okay, so now that is what we have seen, that is the character generation. It could come like for 1 or 2 marks in your exam. Okay, so don't skip this thing in your examination also, that can grab some marks for you. Okay, क्योंकि होता क्या है ना, आपकी like student just generally focus on the main things or the important or difficult things that we have seen, like skip this thing. और फिर क्या होता है, exam appear होता है तो they just write their own it in their own words. So don't do this thing. Okay, so now we have one more thing over here, that is line attributes. Okay, basic attributes of straight line segments are type, dimension, color, and pen or brush option. Okay, so now you can manipulate this thing, you can change this thing based on your own requirement, okay, in your code. Okay, so now we have a huge variety of such things. Okay, even if you go with OpenGL thing, OpenGL library, again for that you have to learn all of this thing. Okay, because over there again the things are like getting changed, syntax is different, dimensions are different. So if you learn that thing, then also you have to go from the very basic thing. Okay, but this thing we'll say with the graphics library. So now we have a few things that is like that are given over here. Possible selection for the line type attributes include solid lines, dashed lines, and dotted line. Okay, so what it says is you just have to give it in your like program. With the help of, we can modify a line drawing to generate such line by setting the length and spacing of the displayed solid section along the line path. Okay, but obviously we have one line, solid line. What we can do is we can manipulate this line by like doing something with that parameters. So now to set line type attribute in PHIGS application program is the things that we are using. User invoke the function that is set line type. So simply what you gotta do is you just have to give the parameter over here inside the LT field. That is, the LT is nothing but your argument that you are passing, and the parameter is LT. It is assigned a positive integer value of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Similarly, if you want like a solid line, then you'd be giving 1. Similarly, for dash line, you have to give dash. Okay, sorry, 2. And 3 and 4 can be given. So more than this given thing could be there in your like actual scenario. So you have to explore this thing as well. Okay, line width, again, line width क्या करता है, but obviously it would like generate a line, or it would like create an effect that it is thicker, or it can be thin also. So what it says is value greater than 1 produces line thicker than the standard line, and value less than 1 produces thinner line. Okay, this can be done with the help of set line with scale vector. Okay, LW is assigned a positive value to indicate the relative width of the line. Okay, so that is what you can do. Line width and all this thing you can explore by your own. And what it says in raster graphics, we generate thick line by plotting in this manner. Okay, upon what we'll try to do is we'll try to like take the neighboring pixels as well to generate a thick line or to generate thinner line. Okay, so what it says, above and below pixel of line path when slope m is less than 1. Okay, so that is what you can do to generate thick line, and left and right pixel of line when slope is greater than 1. So if this is the case, then what you can do is you can take the neighboring pixel and you can like paint it with the same color that is of that particular line. If this is the case, then also you can take the neighboring pixel. So this would be like painted with the light gray color as it is shown over here. Similar thing will be done in this manner. Okay, so now you can like similarly play with this thing. You can do this thing in the lab. Okay, you want to like really do something interesting. Okay, now we have three kind of joints over here, so that you could like get a very good thing. As we change width of the line, we can also change the line, and okay, as it is over here, and joint of the two line which are shown below. Okay, so we have first thing that is miter joint, second thing is round joint, and bevel joint. Okay, so you can do this kind of thing in your programming. Okay, similar thing can be changed, like colors could be changed, that is given by the set polyline color index. Okay, and you can simply use this thing for your own purpose. Okay, you can do it. And then color and grayscale levels. Okay, we'll just go fast because these are the very simple thing that you can explore by your own. Okay, so now what it says, color and grayscale levels, colors and intensity, like intensity level option can be made available to a user depending on the capability and design objective of a particular system. But obviously the system is able to like generate multiple colors, then you can easily do this thing with your own thing. And if it is not, then you just have to deal with the grayscale. But obviously you know that your grayscale values would range from 0 to 1 only, so in between you'd be having multiple intensities for multiple colors. Okay, so what it says, general purpose raster scan system, for example, usually provide a wide range of color, while the random scan system are like able to generate a fewer colors. Okay, as compared to the previous one. So now in color raster system, the number of color choices available depends on the amount of storage provided per pixel in the frame buffer. Okay, So out of the available choices, you'd be making some decision so that you can like display it for your purpose. Okay, now what it says is also color information can be stored in the frame buffer in two different ways. That is what you have to keep in mind. Now just pay attention over here. We can store color codes directly in the frame buffer. Okay, as I told you, if you are coloring, as you already know, we have so many colors with us. Okay, and to store this thing directly into the frame buffer is like it would be taking your more space, and as well as the time for return would also be more. So what it says is we can put the color code in a separate table, and similarly we can like access this thing with the help of the index value. Okay, this is relatively simple as compared to the previous one. Okay, as it says, we require large frame size, and when we want to display more colors, and in the case of table it is reduced, but obviously because we just like have to deal with this index information. Okay, so in in case of table it is reduced, and we call it color table or color lookup table. Okay, how it looks, that is given over here. Okay, so now we have one thing that is given over here, that is color lookup table. So color values from values of 24-bit is stored in lookup table. Okay, so you'd be having the bit information of that particular color, and that would be stored in your lookup table. And in frame buffer you'd be having only 8-bit index of the required color instead of storing this 24 bits. In turn you'd be having just 8 bits, so that your like storage requirement for the frame would be very less. So and it will be fast also, so that's why we do all of this thing. Okay, in turn it will be directing you to the same color information only. Okay, so the size of the frame buffer is now reduced, so we can display more colors. Okay, and also efficiently we can display like we can do this thing more faster. Okay, so here we have one information. Okay, as it is given over here, you'd be having relative thing over here. Similarly you would be storing 24-bit information, okay, in the lookup table, and that would be directing you to like generate that particular color. Okay, and in turn you have this thing that could range from 0 to 25. Okay, and in between if you have one value that is 196 and you want to retrieve that particular color. Okay, so it will similarly check, and it will go over here and it will look for the particular thing that is mapped with that 196 value, and based on that 196 value it will go to the like lookup table, and this would invoke that particular color from out of the RGB gun. Okay, or you can say simply out of the RGB intensity values, and that's how it like give you if you are considering the lookup table instead of storing the whole information in this frame buffer, it will be giving you this thing based on the table information, based on the index information. You just need to store this information. Okay, so now similar thing could be followed for the like grayscale, but now if we don't have this color capability, then what it says. So now with monitor having no color capability, color function can be used in an application to set the shade of gray. Okay, for display primitives, what you generally do is whenever you have range of gray like colored images and all, what you try to do is you try to normalize your value out of 0 to 225. You try to reduce this value, and you'd be like converting this thing into the grayscale images only. See, this thing is needed only if you want to like convert from the colored image to the grayscale image whenever we have limited processing capabilities. But this is the monitor capability thing, so it is predefined by the manufacturer. So that is what it says. Numeric value between 0 to 1 can be used to specify grayscale levels. Okay, but obviously we'll be having different range of intensities, as we already know. Whenever we deal with color or whenever we deal with any image is nothing but you would be having different like intensities of values, or you can simply say intensities. Okay, you'd be having numeric values that you are storing in some table or in some matrix. Similar thing is the thing that you are doing in the TensorFlow also. TensorFlow do the thing, but it tries to store this thing in a kind of array, and at the end you'd be getting something out of it. Okay, that is a different thing. It is not at all related to this thing. Okay, this numeric value is converted in binary code. See, these values are now converted into binary code to store in the raster system. So how it look, so how it appears, it is given over here. So now over here we have one thing, intensity code that relates to that particular color, stored intensity. Okay, values in the binary code, stored intensity in the frame buffer, and the display grayscale. So based on this information, you can simply go with it. So you have this thing, you can simply like invoke this values. If it is 0, then it will go with the binary code of that, and in turn it will check for the intensity code. So that would say that okay, we want to display black color. Okay, similarly one value, it is mapped to this particular thing. Okay, and in turn its binary is stored over here, and that represents the dark gray color. Similarly over here 2 is there, so binary code is stored, and in turn its intensity value. This is how it will store this information. And only 4 things that we have is from black to white or white to black. We have 4 different intensities. So for grayscale image, you'll be having limited things. So that is how it works. Okay. So now one more thing that we have is the area filled attributes. Okay. But obviously, if we have seen this thing that is field area primitive, so we'll be dealing with something. If you want to like fill your polygon of a particular object with some hexagon pattern or something like that, you can also do this thing with the graphics libraries. Okay, directly you just have to write one line, and that particular area will be like covered with that shape hexagon. If hexagon is the shape, then that would be done. Fill style, pattern, fill, and software. So we'll see each and everything in detail. Okay, with some examples. And yeah, so that's it for today.